this is the official. Brother, listen to this. This is the official news network for the church. This is linked to Adventist.org. That's the General Conference website. This announcement comes, and I'm going to try to do this quick now. This announcement comes in the newspaper. It's one of the latest news. You see it over here. Innovators meeting to help reinvent worship and outreach. Can you see that okay?
Yes.
All right. Adventism means, it says, culture of innovation. Church leaders say. This is the leader for the Conference of Ohio Conference. Now, I'm saying this to you openly. This is coming to our news organization on the www World Wide Web for all to see. And I want to let you know, if I, by the grace of God, and many others could rebuke it on the www, we will too, because something like this needs a just as openly as this is announced, it needs to be openly rebuked. This is it. Adventism means culture of innovation. This is it. God are seeking one idea. The more unconventional, the better. The Seventh-day Adventist leader in Ohio is calling for a, quote, culture of innovation. That's what this conference was that finished yesterday. All right? Within the church that encourages and applauds relevant and effective ways to worship and do outreach. Watch out when you see that word relevant, by the way. Deacon worries that when members become, quote, now listen to this, so self-absorbed in preserving tradition and protecting truth, unquote, they can easily, quote, slip further and further into inaction and irrelevancy. Now, don't you forget one thing. You remember when we did that walkthrough Sunday on the three words that have been three of the words that have been inserted to our Christian vocabulary? Liberal, what? Moderate, and what? Conservative. And remember we did that thing to try to show, like, if you want to use those terms, which I don't agree with, that where would you want to be? You remember that? And one of the words under conservative was preservative. Wasn't it? Is that right? So, brothers and sisters, let me tell you this. When it says, when members become so self-absorbed in preserving tradition and protecting truth, all right? Brothers and sisters, this is what we should be doing. And let me tell you this. It does not lead to inactivity and irrelevancy. Let me tell you two things behind how I know this. It is the reason why, brothers and sisters, in addition to pastoring, get on a plane to do things just like this. It's the reason why I've been able to get in a plane and go other places across the seas in other countries to go and do many, many seminars, which I don't know how many running now at this point, but there's a whole lot over the last 20 or so years. And brothers and sisters, I can tell you this. You are not irrelevant, because when you come amongst God's people, what you will find in most cases is these things have not been talked about. Amen. And when we find ourselves going back to the Bible and the Spirit of prophecy to reignite, re-explore, and bring into even greater light based upon the fact that these truths are more applicable now than ever. Brothers and sisters, we can't get enough, and that's why we spent 4 hours beyond the time we're supposed to be. You see what I'm saying? You don't become irrelevant. We become very relevant when we're self-absorbed in protecting truth. Amen. But this is out there. I didn't write this. I didn't hold the conference. Listen to this. A deacon and the church in Ohio, heads of Partners in Innovation, a group of people and organizations, including the Church in North American Church Resource Center, that provide support and resources for innovators. The group 4th Annual National Conference on Innovation from October 5th to 7th, as yesterday finished, is expected to draw pastors, church administrators, lay leaders, educators, students, and business people to Dublin, Ohio this weekend. Tegan says, innovators often, look at this now, often end up leaving the Adventist church because they don't feel they can take risks. When the church isn't a, quote, safe place to take risks for God, it becomes, quote, stale and stagnant, he says. Something he hopes the conference will help change. You shouldn't feel you need to go outside the church to try something bold for God. Now, you hear what's happening? For our stances to want to protect truth, we have forced people out of the church. Let me tell you this. Fear of Inspiration says we are not to leave the church. We're not to provide a reason or justification for people leaving the church. People have a lot of different reasons for leaving the church, but we're not supposed to leave the church. Amen. It is the apple of the Lord's eye, the object of His supreme regard. Amen. You need to take time to read those things. Yes, we have a lot of stuff happening in the church. But brother, let me tell you this. We had a lot of stuff happening in Israel too. As a matter of fact, Israel was in the midst of, a continued plunge into sin when the Lord said, 70 weeks to return upon thy people. Isn't that right? 490 years. And let me tell you this, we're 160-something years going, and I doubt that we'll get to 490 years. And the Lord still says, I'm giving this church 70 weeks or 490 years. Amen? Amen. So don't forget that. But brother, let me tell you this. When you hear this kind of a jab coming, especially from leadership, the jab is coming that people have to leave the church in order to take risks. Now let me say this. The word take risks shouldn't even be involved. That shouldn't be a terminology that we use in the church. I don't even mean by take risks. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you something. When the actual listing of what he's speaking about comes out, you will find out it's not risky at all. Let me show you this. The conference targets members willing to stick their necks out, who represent less than 2.5% of the church, as Deacon said, nodding to the diffusion of innovation theory, with subgroups ranging from innovators to laggards. Theorists use a model to explain how everything from blue jeans to democracy finds wide acceptance over time. Now, again, brothers and sisters, I'll just say this to you. There is a growing sentiment that is out there that says that when we make changes in the church, when we see these changes, these are at first shocking. But in fact, all it is that we are conditioned to believe certain things. Not that we have Bible and spirit of prophecy as to why we are conditioned. You follow? We're just conditioned over tradition and culture, what we're used to. And we'll get used to something else. That's a very dangerous philosophy. We don't expect, and this thing is going out again, I think I'm having a conflict. I'm giving a conflict. Permit me just a second. Okay, good. We don't expect anyone to jump on board right now, or right away, and that's okay. But we cannot afford to only do what we've always done. You hear this all the time, don't you? That's what members of the one. Now look at this now. This is a case study in what he's referring to. That's what members of the once insular Madison Avenue Church in Tennessee concluded in 2006 when they decided to keep their doors open 7 days a week, not just a few hours on Saturday. They began offering the Madison Community Health Support, English as a second language classes, and adopt a grandparent program and birthday parties for local foster children, among other projects. Now, as I was explaining this to my father earlier, when you read all of that, I'm sure that the first thing that will come to your mind is, what is wrong with any